Good morning, everyone. My name is Sandile. I'm the marketing manager of Braintree. Thank you for joining our session today. We have Grant from Braintree, who's going to be positioning ourselves as well as the conversation regarding AI within Microsoft Business Applications. We've also got our esteemed colleague from Microsoft, who is Taryn Engelbrecht. She's the Senior Partner Solution Architect, who'll be in conversation with Grant today. And we also have another guest from our side at Braintree, who will be Doug, who will also give us some flavor from the Microsoft 365 aspect along with Dynamics 365. So I'll hand over to Grant just to essentially drive us through the agenda, which essentially will follow through these 5 points, which are the biggest gains for business that invests and deploys AI, what makes Microsoft Dynamics 365 your solution of choice, how Copilot differs from other solution offerings, security of business intellectual property, and later on we'll do a Q&A where we'll try to answer all your questions along with any questions that we obviously have prepared on our side that will run through this session. So handing over to Grant now.
Thanks, Sandile, and good morning to everyone. And for audience members that were actually on our first session yesterday around the productivity suite on the M365 side, welcome back. We are looking, and I must point out that we are looking at this specifically around the D365 solution offerings or Biz Apps offerings. And just want to say good morning to everyone. Thank you for making the time available. And to kick off, I mean, from my side, this is exciting in the sense that I'm looking at a solution that covers both CRM and your enterprise resource planning. So it's not just an element that's one specific component. I think if you haven't been exposed to Copilot, I think the message that needs to come across is that Copilot is part of the Microsoft platform. So it's not just a tool set that's specific to ERP or specific to CRM. We are looking at a solution play across a platform, and AI is the hot topic, and responsible AI is also a question that comes up. And Sandile and audience, I wanted to start this conversation by first and foremost answering the question that's on everyone's minds. Will AI replace my job? Am I going to lose my job? Is it going to make my role redundant in an organization? And the answer to that question is based in the naming convention of what we are talking about today, which is Copilot. We're not talking autopilot. If it was autopilot, then the question would be, yes, I'm sitting on an airplane and I'm using the cockpit pilot analogy. If it's planes running on autopilot, you don't need anyone there to basically do anything. The plane will fly itself. That is not what Copilot and Microsoft's strategy is around AI. It's specifically a co-pilot, an assistant. It's someone that is there, and it's actually exciting in the fact that it's pretty much a very, very cool tool set that can allow you to maximize your investment within the Microsoft environment. So answer the question straight out. It's going to assist people. It's not going to replace people. And if you look at what the surface or what the sphere of influence is for Copilot within the D365 component, it's actually traveling from sales through to marketing, service, supply chain, and operations. And we are going to touch on that during this presentation and take you through some elements where we see AI driving value within the business environment. So Sandile, I'm going to ask you just to go into the next slide where we're going to actually show you a video.
Copilot in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Customer Service revolutionizes the support experience with generative AI. It empowers agents to easily leverage company knowledge, sources, and quickly generate optimized responses for customers in a single click. Copilot makes agents more productive and helps them deliver better customer experiences. Let's look at an example from Microsoft Azure, which uses Dynamics 365 Customer Service and has thousands of support engineers handling millions of requests every year. Ivan is a support agent at Microsoft. He answers complex customer questions on Azure sent via email. On his agent desktop, he sees the inbox to the left of the screen, and in the center, he can see all the relevant information and timeline for the case he is working on. He notices an email received from Claudia asking about a configuration issue with their Azure Kubernetes service cluster. Usually, responding to this kind of complex issue would take Ivan several minutes. He would spend time searching through multiple knowledge articles, finding the relevant section that connects with the customer's specific issue, and then writing up a response to the customer. Today, he is using Copilot. Copilot expands on the right side of his screen and helps him draft the perfect reply with just one click using generative AI. He can even provide custom prompts for the most complex cases. Copilot saves him time and helps deliver high-quality service. Copilot knows all of the context from trusted websites and Azure's internal data, including customer name and relevant knowledge articles, so Ivan doesn't have to spend time searching or typing. Now, he just has to review the response. The draft looks great, and with one click, he copies it into the email editor and sends it out, feeling confident that his customer is receiving the prompt, friendly service they deserve. Soon after, Ivan sees an incoming chat from another customer, Diane. The chat appears on the left side of his screen. In the middle, he has the relevant information for his customer. And on the right, Copilot is ready to help him. The Power Virtual Agents bot has already summarized that the customer is having trouble logging into their Visual Studio account. This helps him get a jump start on this conversation. Rather than searching on his own, he turns to Copilot for help, which uses generative AI to surface the latest information that is typically found across Azure's vast set of internal documents, including previously resolved case notes and published knowledge articles. Having already saved time researching, Ivan is able to follow up quickly with the customer to gather the right details needed to investigate. With the error code in hand, he checks in with Copilot one more time. In a single click, Copilot summarizes the customer issue from the live chat conversation and drafts a response that he can share. It appears the document which Copilot used to formulate this response is the right one, but Ivan knows he can always click through the source links to verify or make any edits to the response if he needs to. Satisfied, he decides to send it to the customer. This interaction shows the true power of Copilot. Even as a new support agent, Ivan feels empowered with the knowledge of his entire organization to resolve issues quickly. These are just a few examples of how Copilot in Microsoft Dynamics 365 customer service revolutionizes agent productivity and customer experience across all engagement channels. With these innovations, organizations can feel assured that they're earning customers for life.
So I think from that video, and it just gives you a bit of an insight as to how you see Copilot actually assisting a new employee in generating productivity, having access to a team that cycle that they showed there would generally take a good few hours of someone's day to get all the information. And now you've got that information available on hand for someone to actually access and respond to a customer's concerns. I think it's brilliant. It's very, very exciting. So, Sandile, I don't know if you had a few questions around that.
Yeah, definitely have a question. So for the people that obviously or might not have joined the session that we had yesterday with our other colleagues, Doug, Greg, and Timothy from Microsoft, please can you just explain quickly for the people on whether or not Copilot is something that people need to be worried about in terms of replacing them in the workplace, or is it, as we've come to know, that it's just there for us to, well, get through the everyday processes, the repetitive ones, so that we open up more time for ourselves to do more strategic initiatives in the workplace?
As we said, I mean, this is very, very specific to the fact that it's an assistant, right? So, and it's giving you a tool that allows you to be more effective, and you can actually focus on and volumetrically go through a lot more support calls in this example than you would if you didn't have Copilot. So the productivity and cost savings around that is definitely a substantial saving. I think the thing that I need to actually make sure from and put across is that for any AI strategy or for any artificial intelligence approach, data is central, and it's central to the success of Copilot as well. Because if I take that video as an example, having somebody if the data wasn't there to actually give the results or give the answers to the agent, or inaccurate information, all of a sudden the success of what he's preparing for the customers is actually nullified. So your productivity improvement will then disappear. So data and where the data is found and how you access the data becomes key to the way that Copilot will actually present and move forward. During Inspire last week, during the keynote address, I loved the saying that the model effectiveness or any artificial effectiveness, the big large language model, if the accuracy of that is the actual currency of your AI strategy. So you need to make sure data and model effectiveness is in place. And coming back to your question, Sandelia, about, well, does this replace my role or me as a person?
Yeah.
You would have noticed that even when AI actually presented a response to the client, it still had to be verified.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, here's the response, send it off to the client, and no one actually looked at and verified from a human element what the result was. And that is where the key lies, right? So no, it's not looking to replace anyone. It's actually driving the fact that it's giving you the answers. You can verify those resources and then send it through with a great speed and accuracy involved.
Cool. And then brings me to my next question. So I've essentially got 4 questions for you regarding this video. Do you see the capabilities and features of Copilot helping everyday employees in terms of managing their stress levels? Because in certain scenarios, like what the guy had to do there, which is to go and read a whole bunch of information, gather it together before providing an answer or even a presentation to obviously your higher ups. Do you think having Copilot there will obviously try to help lower our stress levels in this regard?
So Delia, I think what's happened is post-COVID, right? We've all been in a situation. We've always been in a situation where at the most, all of us, our hours are consumed by back-to-back Teams meetings, right? We end up going on our workload, even though working from home sounded like a fantastic idea. A lot of us have actually realized that the workload has increased exponentially. So Copilot allowing you to get through your activities absolutely will reduce your stress levels of employees because of the fact that you're actually able to stretch that response across a number of people. And Doug, I know you spent yesterday doing a lot of views of productivity from the fact of looking at the Microsoft solutions within the productivity or modern workplace suite. I'm going to ask you your thoughts around this, around stress levels going across the entire Microsoft platform.
Sure, Grant. Morning, everybody. Thanks for an opportunity again. You know, this is a subject I'm hugely passionate about. So for me, it's really, literally, you know, it's a game changer. If you have a look at, I suppose, leveraging the architecture and the way in which responsible artificial intelligence being put forward at the moment, it is first and foremost at the center of this is the human. Next to that is your data. Next to that is how do you use your data.
Absolutely.
Piece of that, though, is that data sits behind the veil. So make sure that the security is in place in order for you to generate the right outputs. But for me, what this does is it takes a whole new way of us working in order to drive a better output for ourselves faster, quicker, and more accurately. But that accuracy is based off of the data. You've alluded to all those things already. But from my perspective, it is literally, you know, now I can have AI assist me in generating information like out of your current model. There's a problem. Help me quickly establish what that problem is and how do I resolve it. 3 minutes, not 3 days
Yeah.
or 3 hours. So
Absolutely.
that for me is the importance around this. Imagine how much bigger you could make your call center, how much more that call center can deliver for you if you've got an outbound calling call center. If you've got a support center, imagine the efficacy and the reduction in costs of running that center because you have this inordinate amount of additional time. I mean, that for me is what it boils down to.
And Doug, I think you also alluded to being able to process that data. So call center environment like this, right? Understanding if there is a trend going towards certain fault areas or certain areas that need to be addressed. All of a sudden, you've got a Copilot assistant that can actually identify that information quickly. So
wow, I wasn't even thinking about that, Grant. Imagine that. Imagine you get that red little bubble pop up and go, whoa, we've just had an upgrade on Teams. People are starting to ask questions around it. We can preempt. Hello, good day. Are you having a problem with your Teams? Can I quickly help you? I mean, everybody gets that answer on their computers, the call agents. Yo, man, there's 20 minutes saved.
And also the other saving that comes up is that when you start seeing a trend of increasing calls, that you can actually say, engineering department, please understand something. There's something that went out. We need to actually be proactive in the way we approach it, which then says from a customer perspective, you're actually on top of your service levels. That, for me, that's a key driver because customer needs to be central to what we do. So thanks, Doug. I mean, that's thanks for your input on that. And I'm probably going to, I'll probably call in Doug every now and then just for your input, especially because of the fact that we are stretching across both M365 and D365.
100%.
So Deli, have I answered your questions as far as customer service is concerned?
100%. You've definitely answered the question regarding stress level. And then I'm going to combine the last two questions because you already alluded to them in your opening statements. So regarding the fact that there are source links that the user can click in order to go and verify the data and ensure that their accuracy or its accuracy is as accurate as possible based on whatever data has been uploaded to the business servers and its database. If somebody gets a bit comfortable with obviously having Copilot with their there with them, do you think that maybe this could possibly lead to maybe some sort of human error where you've now developed this thing of actually I can trust the data, and whenever the source comes through and that data is there, I can trust that it's within my organization. I can just click send whatever message or response to the customer. Do you think that's something that we still need to be conscious of, especially with that human and AI element?
I think the short answer is yes. I think we have to be aware of it, right? Verifying where the information comes from is fantastic, but this actually alludes to where I see artificial intelligence changing the roles of people, right? Because you're actually looking at this from a point of view that as a person, if I'm doing a specific role and now all of a sudden I've got this AI Copilot assistant, yes, you can get complacent and you might just send it out, but understand this, Sandile, if you ask the wrong question of anyone, and somebody at Microsoft, I was in a meeting about 3 weeks ago with someone at Microsoft, and he used the following example using ChatGPT. He says, go onto ChatGPT and actually say, what is the best Italian restaurant in Pofada? All right. Yeah. You're welcome to do this. Go and do it. And what'll come back is it'll tell you Domino's, it'll come up with a whole lot of different pizza places, etc. Now, I don't know if you've had the luxury of going through Pofada ever in your life, right? I can tell you right now, categorically, there is no Domino's pizza place in Pofada. However, if you go to ChatGPT and you say to it, what is the best Italian restaurant in Pofada based on reviews? It'll actually go and search and look for a review of that restaurant and give you a result based on it. So now, coming back to your question, can it create human error? Yes, because if you don't verify the results, I could easily have just told everyone, if you're in Pofada, go and have a Domino's pizza. And you'll be driving around aimlessly for the
looking
next
for Domino's.
Exactly, right?
Result,
Whereas if you ask the question the right way, you'd be able to turn around and say, it's Tony's Pizza Place, because that's the only Italian restaurant or only pizza place in Pofada. So It's those elements that we need to be aware of. And I think that just identifies that a human person, a human element, human person. Well, I hope they are person, but the human element will always be important in the processing. Doesn't matter if it is modern workplace or D365, you still have to have a person asking the right question. Yeah.
So
All right. So
before we switch
yeah.
to the next video, let me just check. Taryn, are you with us again? I don't know if she's sorted out her microphone. I heard she's got some microphone issues. Taryn?
No problem.
No, okay, she's still
Yeah.
struggling. So we'll jump into this next video.
Absolutely.
It's a minute
Yep.
and 50 seconds long. Oh, she's here. Fantastic. Thanks. Taryn, you'll obviously jump in from the next video since we've already gotten through the first one and its points.
Dahlia is a supply chain planner at Kraft Heinz Company. One of their biggest challenges is keeping up with demand in the face of unexpected supply chain disruptions. Copilot in Microsoft Supply Chain Center, which is available to Dynamics 365 supply chain management customers, helps them stay close to their suppliers to ensure they are never out of stock. They can respond quickly in critical situations by identifying costly problems early and swiftly collaborating with partners to maintain healthy inventory levels. Dahlia first uses the AI-driven news module to keep a finger on the pulse of events that impact critical logistics, such as weather, workforce, or geopolitical disruptions. Today, she's presented with an article about a flood in Michigan. She sees this article has been tagged as an immediate risk, and her suppliers, Northwind Traders, Van Arsdale, and Best For You Organics Company, are affected. Dahlia selects Northwind Traders and clicks Contact Partner. She wants to confirm the impact on order dates and quantity, given the flooding in Michigan. She reviews an AI-generated email powered by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot that already contains all the relevant information referencing the flooding and specific orders in question. She opens the draft directly in her email, sees that the right contact, Mauricio, has automatically been filled in, and sends it off. With Copilot, Dahlia is able to quickly handle this task in just a few clicks, facilitating a much faster mitigation process. Mauricio from Northwind Traders responds, "The order will be delivered from an alternative Northwind Traders location with a new ETA." With Copilot in Microsoft Supply Chain Center, Dahlia was able to act swiftly, detecting problems that could have major impact to her business and taking immediate action to mitigate the disruptions without ever leaving her workflow.
Okay, right.
Well, that
Grant?
I have to tell you, right, when I saw this and I saw that video, it actually, having been in the ERP business for more than 20 something odd years, this to me took it to another level, because having a co-pilot assistant that is able to preempt this and take a process that could easily take like a week, maybe even 2 weeks, to actually determine, are my orders going to be delivered? Where's that stock going to happen, etc. Now you've actually got a preemptive assistant telling you that these orders are potentially under threat. That's taking this to a completely different level. I mean, that is just changing the way that we can actually interact from a supply chain perspective.
100%. So just to touch on one of the questions that we've received now from one of our guests, I think more so for Taryn in this regard, based on how Copilot is being positioned as a product for office-based employees or anybody that obviously works with a laptop most of the time or a tablet, if somebody is out in the field on site, is Copilot still useful to them?
So let me put it this way. As a Microsoft employee, I get questions every single day, get documents every single day that I need to complete. And if I didn't have Copilot, it would be a challenge. It would be 10 times more work. So I'm able to put my thoughts, my thinking into Copilot, and it generates the responses that I want, that I'm able to communicate with my partners.
Absolutely.
So it is a flexible solution or offering at the end of the day, where whether you're office bound, working from home, or a hybrid
Yes.
person which works from anywhere, Copilot is built for everyone It's just a matter of how you apply it as a user.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. I hope we've answered your question there, Mr. Stan. And then I just want to touch on to one of my questions on the side over here. It essentially goes like this. By mitigating risks of external forces affecting supply chain, from what we saw in the video, has Copilot essentially proven its worth in terms of supporting the human in terms of gathering that data where they can make efficient and smart decisions in order to save the business from being caught with their pants down, where, like we saw in the example there, maybe there's an issue with the environment and now you have to source a new supplier and, order those resources that you need in order to get to manufacturing.
Sandile, absolutely. I think if you actually looking at it from a point of view of being able to preempt, making sure that your inventory items are not overstocked or that you're stocking the right inventory items, that has a direct impact on a business. I mean, being able to keep your business profitable, etc. And it's something that's actually come up previously in discussions where you look at post-COVID, where you look at supply chains that have been disrupted. Anyone that's been importing items from overseas, etc., it actually creates. There's been massive increase in costs for shipping from the east, and not only just the costs of shipping, just reliability of stock arriving. So if you've got an ability through Copilot to start looking at those influences, macroeconomic influences, looking at what determines and the impact and the risk that it has on your business, you would then be able to manage those components, and most definitely, answering your question, it will drive the value of having this in-house, because just by knowing that there's going to be a potential impact on your business, and I'm not saying AI is all knowing, all knowledge. I mean, it's based on information. Let's be realistic and keep it in within the realms of reality.
100%.
But any assistance around that and making sure that you can actually supply the right goods at the right time, we're definitely making sure that we have a positive impact on a business.
That's good. So essentially, from a setup position, we need to make sure that we have as many plugins that are related to each specific role, essentially, in order to get this data that's needed. So thank you for answering that question. And then this one is for Doug, please. As a person that's most of the time spending your days boots to the ground, visiting customers, finding out their environments and their current capabilities, based on South African organizations, how ready are we in terms of adopting products like Dynamics 365 Copilot? Because like we discussed yesterday, M365 Copilot is also another one that's coming towards us very soon.
I think as soon as it is available, I think we're going to have a huge amount of people requesting access into the Copilot environments for whichever applications they want to apply it against, and the Dynamics range of products is no exception. I think my concern around that is don't go in blindly. You must have your data indexed properly.
Yep.
First and foremost. So if you don't have that, you are going to not get the outputs that you expect. Because accuracy is going to be the new currency in AI space. And second to that, if your security posture is not right, you don't have your security set up, you are going to be in a similar issue where your data is going to be referenced by people within your organization that should not have access to that data. So prerequisites at the end of the day: make sure your Active Directory is set up correctly, make sure that your users are set up correctly in your applications like Dynamics and CRM to have access to the right data at the right time on the right platform with the right securities and access granted to them. So yeah, that's my kind of pointer is be ready, get yourself ready. Look, it hasn't landed yet, right? But we have to start having these discussions, because I think that we will be behind the curve, all of us in business, our customers, our leaders, everybody will be behind the curve if we're not having these discussions and say, get yourself ready right now. So that's what I can leave you behind with.
Thanks for that, Doug. And just before you get in there, Grant. So we've got Alison, who's essentially asked us to expand on what correct practice of indexing of data is. I don't know, between Taryn and Doug, could you possibly elaborate on that for us before I get to Grant again?
I think
Let
me grab it, guys. So
yeah.
So it's a process. We actually had a really decent discussion around this with our data analyst department yesterday around what does this actually mean for a customer in order for us to be able to assist organizations. And it's a pretty simple process. It's let's get a view of what that data looks like. Let's have a look at where it fits in the bigger picture and what you'd like to achieve with that data. There's an assessment that we do to be able to identify where the potential problem areas are with the data and the indexing, and then we take it forward from that, giving you the right guidance in achieving what you want to achieve in that. Alison, I'm hoping I've answered the question. I suppose in summary, there's a process you need to follow to clean it. There's a process you need to follow to understand it. There's a process you need to follow to architecture it in order for you to end up in being able to utilize it effectively. Now, to add to that is you're already on the ERP side or the CRM side of the business. Your data is pretty good. It just may need a little bit of refining. We need to find, like we normally would do, this is what the data looks like currently. This is the gap to get it AI ready, and then close that gap. And there's tool sets to be able to use that. And Microsoft's putting forward something called Synex indexing as part of that tool set. There's about 6 of them. We'll put them all together in a bundle and then end up running that assessment in order to close that gap. Hope that helps.
And Doug, I think just to add to that as well, I think just when it comes to the data and indexing and looking at, how we go about that, I think one of the key prerequisites is Active Directory as well. And why I'm bringing that up is because when you look at Copilot, it's not going to access information that you don't have available to you. So, for example, if you're running HR, payroll, file information sitting in finance and you don't have access to that, and you ask a question, it's not going to allow, Copilot's not going to allow you to access that information and present it back as part of your job if it doesn't include it in your Active Directory positioning. Correct?
100%.
Awesome.
Again, it's around that access.
Yep.
That's it.
100%.
Do you have the access? Yes or no? That's the starting gate. Thereafter, it is the information in the right format? Yes, it is presented. If not, it's going to present garbage back. So the idea is to close that gap between it's proper information or it's not proper information.
And I think,
Taryn, do you have anything to weigh in regarding indexing from the horse's mouth, essentially from Microsoft?
No, everybody's on board here. If you don't have access to the data, if we had to take everything away, right? If you try to export data that you don't have access to, it's going to come out blank. If you had to query data that you don't have access to, it will come out blank. So everybody's 100% on board here. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thanks for that one, Taryn. And then another question for you, Taryn, before I let you go and we move on to the next video. We've got a question here. It says, is Copilot going to learn and grow as you put thousands of prompts in it, like fine-tuning in other LLMs? Will this get smarter and more intuitive, given that all the data and security is in place?
Yes, it's machine learning. So yes.
Cool. Simple and effective. Thank you.
Yep.
Let's go on to the next video. And our last one.
Sadeli, don't go into the last video yet. I just want to pass a comment. Sorry, I'm just jumping
No
here because
go ahead.
I'm quite excited about this point, and that is, if you look at what Copilot brings and the question on the screen about will this change the way that we approach ERP, I think it's something very important to get across to the audience that it's most definitely going to change the way ERP is looked at, because enterprise resource planning has been around for 20 plus years, and yes, it's grown, and we've looked at different components have been added in, and you've got MRP, you go through your supply chain components, your inventory, you're looking at all the different CRM components that bring into that. But fundamentally, ERP has not changed over the last 20 years. Functionality's increased, but ERP itself has not changed. And if I had to be blunt, and I know Taryn's on the call from a Microsoft perspective, but I am going to put it out there, right? Nobody, Microsoft D365's general ledger is no prettier or better than someone looking at SAP, Sage, Syspro, or any other ERP system. You have to comply to accounting standards. You have to make sure that's a given. So you cannot sell an ERP system based on my general ledger is better than your general ledger. However, what Copilot brings to the equation is the fact that you're now, as an organization, leveraging a platform that does change the whole way that the business can operate and how you can approach your customers. And that does fundamentally change the approach of ERP, because ERP previously was driven by finance. It was driven by financial reporting, got my GL, got a view of my business, understand where my inventory levels are, trial balance, income statement, balance sheet. Now we're taking ERP to a completely different level. So I just want to put that across. Doug,
can I maybe just pop in? You're
biting to say something.
Just a quick 30 seconds there, Doug.
Cool. Okay. It's not going to change. I'm not going to call it change the approach, because Grant, I think, has defined that. It's definitely going to change the way in which we use it. Yep. And I think that usage at the end of the day is going to make us more effective in the way in which we can model what we want the outcomes to be, and have a look at what the recommendations are to get to those outcomes, as done and shared by the information within your organization first and foremost, and then secondly, as in this video, going out to go and have a look at what are geographic problems. Are they expecting a coup in Cote d'Ivoire again, or those kind of things are the things at the end of the day that it's going to bring in to assist you to make the decisions out of the use of Copilot in ERP and CRM, rather than this is how quickly we can deploy it. I think that's a different discussion, and those technical discussions we need to have in a separate forum.
Yep, agreed.
Cool. Okay. Thanks a lot, gents. So moving on to the next video, it's a video about Copilot within Dynamics 365 Business Central, which is essentially the leading ERP, one of the leading ERPs within the Microsoft stable. So guys, please just enjoy this video with us before we.
So it also shows that it's not only for large companies. That's the other side.
Cool. Let's dive into it.
As a small or medium-sized business, you know that great product descriptions boost sales by making products stand out from the crowd. But being creative on demand is challenging, especially when writing product descriptions for dozens or even hundreds of similar products. No one knows this better than Stan, the product manager at Nanoleaf. Nanoleaf is a pioneer of innovative smart home lighting solutions. It's an exciting time for the team as they're about to launch a new product line, but authoring engaging product descriptions for their online store takes time and creativity. Copilot in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central helps successfully launch new products with AI-powered experiences right from where you manage your inventory. Stan wants to register their new product, the Nanoleaf Skylight, and starts by uploading a picture. Business Central analyzes the image and suggests a category to minimize data entry. After quickly customizing attributes and entering price and stock levels, Stan is ready to start copywriting so he can sell online. With just a click, Copilot uses natural language technology to craft an engaging description tailored to this product and enriched with key data from the record. Getting started with copywriting has never been easier. Let's see if we can improve this further. Stan can select precisely which of the product attributes are most relevant to describe the skylight, and also choose a format of generated text for consistency across the product line. Pretty good! Nanoleaf is all about innovation, and with a few more customizations, Stan can match their brand identity and tailor this to the target audience with a more upbeat tone of voice. And look at that! A creative catchphrase followed by an informative description that presents all the facts. After a quick review and a few edits of his own, Stan's text is ready for prime time. Nanoleaf uses Business Central's first-party connector to Shopify, a leading e-commerce platform, which means that Stan is just seconds away from publishing the Skylight to their web shop. And here it is, ready for you and I to purchase. Not only does Business Central accelerate time to market, but having a great product description that is engaging and informative also improves conversion rates. So stop typing and start selling with Copilot in Dynamics 365 Business Central.
So Grant, you can go ahead and talk to the slides for us, please.
No, I think based on what we saw in that last video, it just comes back to what I was saying. This is not just a solution, an offering that's only available to large companies. Again, I just want to re-emphasize the fact that it is part of the Microsoft platform. So there's a Business Central, Dynamics 365 Business Central customer that is using Copilot to be able to get their product out to the market in a very quick, easy way of presenting it, in a professional way of presenting it. So this is not just a solution for enterprise customers. Small to medium companies most definitely can make use of Copilot as well. All right, so I think there's some key benefits associated to that. But one of the things, and we touched on it a little bit earlier about Active Directory. The one thing that I want to put across is that when you start looking at the security and you start looking at the elements of how Copilot's going to be deployed, it's to also make sure that you trust that your data is your data, right? That and Microsoft has put it out in so many different platforms, in so many discussions, the fact that we need to make it very, very clear to our customers that your data as our customer is not going to be used to train large language models. In other words, your data is going to be specific to you. It's not going to be used to train outside large language models. So I think that we just need to put across as well.
Just to essentially touch on that point, and I think it's very important to make it a note for our audience over here. As a person that uses ChatGPT, I decided one day that, hey, let me ask ChatGPT to write an executive summary of our organization, being Braintree, and everything that it can obviously find. So I went on to ChatGPT, typed in there, hi, please will you create an executive summary about Braintree by Vox? And I hit enter, and then I got 0 results, which essentially meant that ChatGPT has no data regarding Braintree from the internet, right? And from that standpoint, I then had to go grab as much information as possible that relates to our organization, that obviously excludes the numbers because the numbers are ours. We don't want them in the public space. And uploaded all of that information regarding our certifications, the vendors that we work with, etc., that sort of information, and then gave it a description of what Braintree is. I asked it again, can you type an executive summary for me? And then it started going boom, boom, boom. And then I got exactly what I asked for, which ended up being a 2-page document, which we now use within our organization as our executive summary. So like you said, now the data that you will input into Copilot essentially, or from your servers, is only yours. Everybody else that's outside of your organization won't have access to it. Microsoft, like we said, security policies and POPIA, etc., those sort of things, they cannot make it available to any of their customers, as well as, you know, people that might be on a different vendors' platform.
And I think, and Sandile, thanks for that example, because it's perfect. I mean, it does fit exactly that description. I think what we also looking at now, and it was released during Inspire, was Bing Chat Enterprise. You get Bing Chat coming through, which is, you know, free, people can use it, but Bing Chat Enterprise actually allows you to, internally, and I had a meeting yesterday with a large corporate company where ChatGPT was actually banned as part of their policy. You cannot use ChatGPT within the organization because of the worry of Copy Act, etc. Where's that information going to be held, etc., etc. So what's happening with Bing Chat Enterprise is it allows you to actually ring fence it around your organization, so that it's contained. You can use it internally, but it'll follow your policy restrictions, and obviously whatever you set down will prevent you from actually going outside of that. So you can start using a large language model internally without having to worry that it's going to go and look for information outside of the organization. So, the question does come up that all of this is exciting. All of it is, you look at it and you think to yourself, okay, there's some phenomenal, positives out of it, but where the hell do I begin? Or how do I start this journey? Or where do I begin this process? And Doug has touched on it, but I'm going to touch on it from the point of view that we've actually started engaging with a lot of our customers around doing workshops around modernization, database modernization, as well as infrastructure modernization, because I think we need to be clear that if you look at Copilot, it is cloud-based. I mean, this is a cloud-based solution. So, if you're on premise, for example, and you're still running legacy nav, or you're running GP, for example, which we do have a lot of customers, still using the GP component. This is very much a cloud solution. So using the workshops to actually plot a roadmap on how to modernize your infrastructure or how to modernize your database structures, that actually becomes key as a first step to the process of saying, well, how can I leverage this and be
cool. And then I've got a question for Taryn from my list over here. Based on the fact that we know that BC Business Central, for our audience, is one of the leading ERPs in the market at the moment for small, medium, and possibly large enterprises. Do you think that Copilot is something that current GP and NAV customers will be influenced or motivated to migrate to Business Central because of this, to obviously use the benefits of having AI now within your environment to try and improve processes, as well as find that extra hour in the day for an employee, because we're all being asked to work a little bit harder, work a little bit smarter. And do you think, if I'm on GP and NAV at the moment, is there now cause for me to move to Business Central along with Copilot?
You answered the question yourself in terms of the fact that I'm on GP and I'm on NAV, which is on-prem. Okay.
Yeah.
100%. So the entire point about Copilot is that we are trying to save your people money. We're trying to save your people time. We're trying to save all of that. Okay. So it's going to not only just give you recommendations, etc. Yes, 110% is going to save you time or your end user. As long as you've got that change management in place, okay, yes, this is what you need.
Cool, that's fantastic. For IT managers and admins, how much preparation, besides what Doug and Grant have already alluded to, Taryn, this one is for you, with the database and indexing and all that stuff, how much work should IT managers, admins essentially be preparing themselves for in order to onboard Copilot from an ERP level, particularly tech resources, upskilling of IT, the whole team, as well as the users of the ERP, and potential time investment, because we all know time is money and they essentially affect each other.
Right. So as I alluded to earlier on, it's about the change management perspective. Okay. If you can implement that, if you can implement the positivity of why we need this and how it's going to save you time, energy, and money, then you're good to go. Because that's the entire point of all of this, is that it's going to give you recommendations. It's going to say to you, look at this, consider this, etc. Okay. So it's not the old school principle that we've had where you need to export Excel spreadsheets, you need to pivot them, it's nothing like that. Okay. So it depends on the change management's perspective. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
And then this one is for Doug Doug and Grant, let me put it that way, and possibly Gregor, because Gregor also has been within the industry for quite a while. All of you guys, 20 years, give or take, in the business. But from the nuances in the video, and this is something that particularly touched me. Could we see teams finding time to analyze and improve their processes in other areas of their work? Because now Copilot is there handling the repetitive stuff, as well as able to gather data as well faster than they could before. Could we see people opening themselves up to tackling other areas of their work, which essentially fosters the whole conversation of being innovative, being more productive, more efficient, with technology, right? Because like we said, we don't want technology to replace us.
And Sandile, we don't want it to replace us, and it won't. But what I can tell you and answer your question, most definitely you can find users being able to actually analyze business in a different way and different tasks. I mean, I saw on Doug's session yesterday, if you look at what can be done using a natural language, i.e. English, whatever, Afrikaans, Xhosa, Zulu, doesn't matter, whatever language you want to use, natural language that we speak. You don't have to be all of a sudden a Power BI specialist, right? You can actually in natural language ask, using Copilot and AI, you can actually ask to say, I want to see a report with the following, and it will go out and design that report for you. So coming back to your question, of course, it's going to open up the ability to actually extend your job function, extend where you are and how you view information. And you're not constrained by your ability to not know Power BI, for example, or constrained by the ability to analyze or understand serious Excel, sort of pivots, as Taryn was pointing out. It will drive the ability for us to actually look at a business and go into other areas of the business and be more productive from that point of view. Doug, your side?
Yep, I just had to find that button quickly. But 3 screens open simultaneously. Yeah,
should have asked Copilot.
I should have. Well, one of these days, hopefully we can. It might be voice activated sooner than what we think, which will be very cool. It will save even more time. So Grant, I mean, I think you've kind of summarized that extremely well. From my side, what Copilot does, and Sandile, to answer your question, is it really takes the content in your organization, right, and it contextualizes it. So let me give you an example, and it's a very simple example. I want a report from our financial system that tells me what we've done from a sales perspective this year. It gives that to me. It's gone into your ERP system because it knows that's where that information is sitting for the previous couple of months. It's gone into your CRM system because that knows what the forecast is at a particular level for this month. It consolidates that all. But it also goes to the last Excel spreadsheet that Sue in finance did for the board pack, and just make sure that all aligns and it represents that back. So that's the context, right? Sue is the context. The data is the data. We can't argue with that if it's indexed correctly. And the result at the end of the day is now what extends and makes my information better. Then I can then go into that and refine it more. And I think that's where the human element comes in. Excellent. Now I can say, okay, but what would you recommend we do in order to speed up these 4 deals? And it may give you a recommendation. I haven't played around with that, but I'm pretty certain it will.
Cool. Thanks for that, Doug. Let's quickly dive into the Q&A session. I'm going to start with the question that we already have in the chat from Daniel. Will Copilot be free with E3, but will you need a Azure P1 license, or can you purchase these licenses for users that do not use E3 or have E3 licenses?
Doug, do you want to answer that one, or do you want me to answer it?
So let's go this way, right? Your prerequisite is always going to be a P1 or P2 Active Directory license. Those Active Directory licenses are being renamed to Entra Access, I think it is, or Entra. Yeah, it's Entra ID. Entra ID. There we go. Thanks for correcting me. I appreciate that. That's what that license is going to be called. Then you will need your Dynamics 365 license. Okay, you're not going to have the modern workplace needs E3 or E5. The Dynamics license needs a BC or a CE or a F&O license. Then within that, that's kind of your prerequisites there.
Thank you, Doug. And then just for our audience members, if you have any questions, please just click the raise hand button there, and then we will unmute you, and then you can just quickly ask a question to our panel over here between Doug, Grant, as well as Taryn. So if you have any questions, please just click raise, and then we'll get to you as quickly as we can. Or you can pop your question in the chat, either or, whichever one you're comfortable with.
Sandile, what we can do in the meantime is there are a few questions earlier that were tabled here that we can pick up as a conversation. So after chat, Alison was one of them. Alison Ann Brown was asking, data analysis for indexing, will it be a paid for service then? So within the framework of these GBT models, so generatively pre-trained models, what typically the behavior is you giving information to the to AI and getting an answer back. So you are responsible in this scenario for giving the data, and then you read the answer. So yes, it's your time, effort, and hours that's putting data in. If you were doing a comprehensive enterprise sort of business scenario and putting volumes of data together, you're still responsible for the data that you're feeding in. So when you call it a paid for service, you actually curate your own data, or you're the person who tells what data is relevant, and then feed it into what is known as AI, and then get your answers out. And so paid for is either your services or someone's, but it pretty much works on our instruction.
And Gregor, I think we should just mention, I mean, that is also why Braintree as an organization has invested in a data insights business unit, so that if that skill set isn't contained within you as a customer, we can actually help and assist by getting our team to engage. Would that be a paid for exercise? Yes, it would be. But the reality is we do have the skill set, because try find yourself a data scientist, and that's an expensive exercise.
There were some other comments here I'm going to pick on. I think you are able to raise hands, unmute yourself. I'm just going to make sure that we are answering questions. We will remain online and available for anyone who wants to carry on and sort anything out with managing attendees. There were other questions here or comments made about, so I'm going to be specific here. A lot of people are talking about ChatGPT. So guys, this is like one little piece of what AI is all about. It's got the acronym GBT, Generative Pre-trained Model. Okay, so this is not the whole of AI. So the questions were ChatGPT is limited to 2021. Yes, this is new IT, new product, new technology being released out. It's being put into your hands for free to do whatever you want with. There's definitely was a limitation coming to market. Is that the only form of ChatGPT now? No, there's new versions. There's version 4 that's out. The products and technology moves on. Most importantly, if I look at all these questions, is understand what you want to do, and then how you should choose to think about what AI to use. ChatGPT is not the answer for everything. It's one scenario. So engage with us more around what you're trying to do, and then turn around and say, how would I approach AI in this perspective? We're too isolated on Copilot, ChatGPT, AI versions, licensing, that sort of stuff. Just take a step back and talk about the business case scenario. This is not a technology conversation. The business case, well, house by sale, you could look at it in these ways. There's another one about licensing. Dougie, between you and Taryn, you're our specialist here regarding the licensing for Copilot. Will it be free with E3? Do you need an as a P1 license? Can you purchase the license for user donor to E3? You guys know where the license models are landing with regard to AI. This is from Daniel van der Merwe.
Daniel, I could definitely talk to the M365 licenses quickly. It is an additive license, a standalone product like you would buy BI as an example. So that license is an additive, and the projected figure or the announced figure right now is $30 per Copilot license. I've not seen any variant to that, and I'm going to put Copilot in inverted commas, whether it's Copilot for ERP, whether it is Copilot for Word, whether it's Copilot for the greater scheme of things in 3 plan. It is all $30. That's my understanding. I'm hoping that will be reduced in time to come, but we'll see. It is literally a change in the way in which we work. So $30.
We've got a hand up from Raymond Collins. Let's see if you can unmute him.
I am sort of unmuted. Are you guys hearing me?
There we go.
Yeah,
Yes,
we are.
Go ahead, Raymond.
Good Good, thanks. Hi. It's less of a question, more of a statement, just about the disruptive element of AI in an industry. I come primarily from the VFX industry, film post-production, right? And I just want to give you guys a quick minute sort of glance as to how that revolutionized the industry. It's a fairly specialized industry where you had like a hierarchical structure where you would go in as a very junior person and end up through years of technical training and experience of, like, you know, getting to the top of the crop, right? But you became more, you started off specialized and you became more generalized, and that was the rung. What this did in one fell swoop, right? Because from 2017, from the white papers with transformer technology, this was basically revolutionizing the industry. So we got to experience this through another acronym, generative analytical networks, right? Where they would basically forward VFX, right? What the net result of that was that people were taking single skills and becoming 5 times skilled within a month by incorporating this technology, right? And they would increase their earnings, all right, like exponentially, ridiculously, and go to international markets, whereas local markets with sub-level skills were only available for them before. I predict Copilot is going to cause the same revolution in a corporation, and it's actually going to upskill people 10x and more,
Raymond,
by doing it.
Raymond, thanks so much.
Awesome.
That's awesome insight. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. I mean, that essentially speaks to one of our earlier questions that you answered, which is it going to make us better as people, better productivity, give us time to be more innovative, work on the strategic stuff? So, yeah, thanks for Raymond for that. What's
great
the
insight.
word I'm looking for?
It's insight.
Yeah, great insight.
Yeah. I'm just aware of.
Can I answer one question quickly?
Well.
There's a ChatGPT question around here. Version 3. I can't remember what the point is.
3.5.
3.5, I think that is referenced, that Microsoft started this journey off on, is the one that has information limitations till, I think it was September 2021, somewhere in that region. We are already 2 versions past that at the moment, and that is the current one that Microsoft has got a private stake in, that is being utilized as part of the Copilot engagement. So, and just to quickly clarify, Copilot is ChatGPT, the large language model, or the name for it. It is your data and your applications that mold together in order for it to be able to generate the outputs that you want, and that's called Copilot.
Yep.
Just
cool. Thanks a lot, Doug. From our left, well, the audience that's left, are there any additional questions that you guys would like to ask us? Please feel free to unmute yourself. We've got everybody unmuted on our side, and you can quickly just ask your question. Like I said earlier as well, if you're a bit shy, pop your question in the chat and we will gladly try and answer it. Trust me, we don't bite. We can't even do that through a camera either, but we'll definitely try and answer your questions.
Just wait, it'll happen. But also, I think we should say that if there are questions that come up, you know, post this session, we are going to be running additional sessions going forward with the marketing team, and you're more than welcome to reach out to myself, Doug, to Sandile, no problem, to Gregor. Sorry, Gregor, wasn't missing you out on that conversation. We're more than welcome to address those questions post this as well. And I think just from my side, I just want to say thanks for people making the time available, taking an hour and 6 minutes out of their day. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, just to warn you, some of the topics that are coming up is going to be the hairy, technical, complicated, how does this stuff work? So we'll make sure that you know on the invite that if it's not you, maybe it's someone else in your company actually wants to understand the building blocks behind this. So just check the topic and just align with it. So, and you're welcome to engage with us in any form and say, I'm interested in covering these types of conversations. So it's an open forum. We've got your email address. You've got ours. We can connect in many ways. We're going to host many conversations around this I suppose as it unfolds, as the technology unfolds in front of us, and then we've got channels and other products. But yeah, please feel free to engage openly. I prefer to hear your voice than this team. I hear them every day. I'd like to hear from you guys.
Thanks, Gregor. We will have more sessions going forward, which we will also try and tailor to any specific concerns that our audience members have, and try and answer all your guys' questions. And if there's no additional questions from our audience members, we'd like to close out the session and let you guys get back to your jobs.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandile, and thanks, Doug. I appreciate your input.
Cool.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks everyone.